everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I have my update for my palette rotation series and my general palette usage for the past month. I know this is coming a week later than normal, but I was super excited to test out the Nomad Royal Europe palette, which you would have seen last week if you are following along. So I did want to get that video up and review it, create some looks, share my thoughts. So if you have not seen, I have tested that palette out and it is up on my channel. So this video is a week later than usual, but I have a good update for you all. So in March, I used a total of 25 palettes out of my 72, and I'm counting this before I got the Nomad Royal Europe palette. So 25 total, which I really did think I used more than that, but according to my tracking, I only used 25 palettes. But my most used this past month was my Nomad Province palette with a total of 10 uses. I had this shade in for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, which I did end up posting last Friday, so that is up on my channel if you are interested in checking that out. I will save the look at this palette for that video if you are interested in seeing what it looks like currently, but I did use this one a total of 10 times this month. So I do also have one new pan to share with you all. So that comes from my Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette, which was in for my palette rotation series in March. And the shade that I hit pan on is Strawberry Lemonade right here. I hope you guys will be able to see that. But these shades are very soft and fairly shallow, so I find them really easy to hit pan on. And this shade in particular is one of my favorites in this palette, and I have absolutely loved using it as an all-over lid shade, sometimes in the inner corner, so I have gotten quite a bit of use from this shade, so it was pretty easy for me to hit pan on it this past month. So that does make a total of 58 pans in my collection out of 985 shadows. Again, I am counting this before the Royal Europe palette comes into my collection. So that is a total of 5.89%. I am really hoping to get up to 6, hopefully 7% by the end of the year. I haven't been as focused on panning this year as in previous years. I'm just kind of trying to get some good use out of my collection this year, and if pan comes, that's great, but I'm not really focusing too much on it. So it's moving a little slower than it did last year, which I'm okay with, but I would like to get up a couple more percentages. Alright, now we can get into going through the palettes that I had in for my rotation series in March. So the first one I used this past month was my Sigma Cinderella palette. So here is what this beautiful palette looks like on the inside, and I will insert a picture of the look I created. So for this look, I used the shade Pumpkin through the crease, and then I used the shade Cinders to deepen the crease, and then did Courtyard on the outer corner and blended that one up into the crease as well. Then I put Dressmakers on the first 2/3 of the lid. I used the shade Cinders as a winged liner. I put Fantasy really tight to my lower lash line and then put Wishful in the inner corner. And I really like how this came out. I loved the little pop of green in the outer corner with the shade Courtyard. I was having some fun creating some more green tone looks this past month with St. Patrick's Day being in March, so this was a lot of fun to create, and I really do enjoy this palette, and it was really nice to pull out for use this month. Alright, next palette up we have my Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. Lots of beautiful shades in here, so I will go ahead and insert a picture of the look I created. So for this look, I used the shade Musk through my crease and then used Desert Sand to blend that out. I put saffron on the outer corner and blended it up into my crease, and then packed Turkish Delight over the outer corner. And then I put Celestial on the first half of the lid with Nefertiti in the inner corner, and this was a really nice look. It was not a look that I've created with this palette before. I haven't used the combination of the brown shade up here with the red shades, and I really did enjoy it. I was also pretty impressed with the shade Celestial right there. I have only used this one a handful of times, and it does have a bit of a drier formula, especially compared to other shades in this palette, but using it on a wet brush, I think it looked really pretty all over the lid, so I was really happy with that. So this was a fun one to reach for this past month too. Alright, next up we have my Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette. So I did actually create 2 looks with this palette this past month for this project, so I will go ahead and insert a picture of the first look. So for this first look, I used the shade Sweet Tea through my crease, and then I used Old Fashioned to deepen the crease and brought that onto the outer corner. I used the shade Sunnies to blend that out, and then put Strawberry Lemonade on the first 2/3 of the lid. I used Old Fashioned on the lower lash line, and then Sweet Tea and Sunnies again to blend that out, and put Main Squeeze in the inner corner. And this was just a really soft, everyday look. Really pretty. This is how I like to use Strawberry Lemonade a lot, which is why I now have a pan in there. So this was just a super, super simple everyday look for me. And now we can go ahead and take a look at the second one I created this month. So this look is a little bit more dramatic. So I started with Coral Punch through the crease, and then once again used Sunnies to blend that out. Then I took Ice Pop and used that to deepen the crease and brought that onto the inner and outer corners of the lid. I put Sugar Coated tapped over the inner and outer portions of my lid with Strawberry Lemonade once again in the center. And then I repeated those matte shades on the lower lash line, and then put Strawberry Lemonade in the inner corner. And this is actually the look that I hit pan on that shade with. So that was super exciting, and I really loved what this look turned out to look like. It was super fun, and I liked being able to come up with a little bit more dramatic look with this palette since it is pretty soft shades. So it was fun to kind of do the lighter version of a look with this palette and then do this one as well. Alright, next up we have my Huda Beauty Nude Light palette. So here is what this little cutie looks like on the inside, and I will insert a picture of the look I created. So for this look, I took this first shade right here, the matte purple, packed that on my lid and blended it up into the crease, and then I used the matte cream shade to blend out the crease. And then I took this brighter purple shimmer and packed that all over the lid, right on top of that matte shade. I used the dark brown as winged liner and then put this light shimmery pink in my inner corner, and I really enjoyed how this look came out. I was really trying to amplify that purple shade on the lid with the combo of these 2 shades, and I really like what those 2 look like. and I am pretty happy with how this look turned out. It was really simple, not too many shades involved, but I had a lot of fun creating this look this past month. Alright, now for my final palette that was in for the rotation series for March. It's my IBY Boho palette. This one is so cute. So I will insert a picture of the look that I created. So this was actually my St. Patrick's Day look for this past month. So I used the shade Gypsy Goddess through my crease and packed that on the lid as well. Then I put the shade Coachella in the outer corner and Lamplight in the first half of the lid. And then I put Moon Swoon in the inner corner. And I know these two shades aren't true green shades, but I thought it looked super cute for St. Patrick's Day, even if it wasn't true greens. But I was really happy with how this look came out, and I know I didn't use a ton of shades from this palette, but it was still really fun to reach for, and I really enjoyed the look that I created. So that will conclude the look at all of the palettes that were in for March. Let me know what you thought of these palettes, which look was your favorite, and we can just get right into rolling in our new palettes for April. Alright, now we can get into choosing my palettes for April. I am so excited. This is always my favorite part of this video. So I have my Tiny Decisions app pulled up to my palette rotation series wheel. So I will go ahead and randomize 5 palettes from this wheel. And I didn't start using this wheel until February, so 2, I think, of my January palettes are in this. So if I get those, I will re-roll. But we can just go ahead and start. And the first one up is my I Heart Revolution Cinderella palette. I am pretty excited about that. That isn't a palette that gets a ton of use from me, but it's one that I will be excited to reach for. Next we have my Ulta Ravenclaw palette. 2 very blue tone palettes. Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells. That is a super neutral quad. That'll be super easy to use. My Delancey Panda palette, and my last one up is my BH Cosmetics Nouveau Neutrals palette. So I'm going to go grab all 5 of those and be right back. Alright, I have my 5 palettes pulled out right here, so I will just run through each of these. So up first was my I Heart Revolution and Disney Cinderella palette. Here is what this one looks like on the inside. So lots of blue shades in here. Blue is not my most worn color, but it does have some really fun shades that I do like to pull for. This Glass Slipper shade I can almost guarantee is going to be used in the look because that is my favorite shade in this palette. But I am pretty excited that this one got pulled. It's not one I reach for a ton, so it will be nice to get a dedicated use out of it this next month. Next up we have my Ulta Beauty and Harry Potter Ravenclaw palette. So another one with some pops of blues in here, but this one does have some nice neutrals mixed in as well. So I'm not entirely sure what I will do with it yet, but I am excited that this one got pulled. I do enjoy this palette, so super excited that it is in this month. Alright, next up is my Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells quad. So super simple color story, and this one's going to be really easy for me to reach for. It's not one that I use a ton just because I do like a little bit more variety within my palettes, but for quick everyday looks, this one is perfect, so it should be pretty easy for me to reach for this one. So next up we have my Delancey adorable packaging, and here is the color story on the inside. Obviously very gray toned, very cool toned. I bought this palette because I was lacking grays in my collection and there were occasions where I wanted to wear them. So this one kind of filled that need in my collection, but it is not one I reach for on a daily basis. This is more of a special occasion palette for me, so it will be interesting to get a use out of it this next month, but I have no doubt that I can do it pretty easily. Alright, then last but not least is my BH Cosmetics Nouveau Neutrals palette. So here is this color story. So this one is definitely the most spring-like from the ones that were chosen, I feel. So I imagine this one will be pretty easy for me to use. I don't get a ton of use out of it anymore, but it used to be one of my favorite palettes. I do really enjoy the mix of kind of neutral shades that it has in here, so it is still one that I do like. I will have no problem reaching for it this next month, and I am excited to see what I can do with it. Alright, so those are the 5 palettes that will be in for April. If I am being completely honest, I'm not the most excited about this month, just because I feel like this collection of palettes would be really good for one of the winter months. It doesn't really feel very springy in my opinion, which we're going into April, we're going into a time of year where I love the pinks, purples, pastels, those sort of shades. So I am really happy to get some use out of these palettes just because there are quite a few of them that aren't the most used in my collection. So in that sense, I am very excited that these ones got pulled in, but these are not the color stories that I would probably gravitate towards during this time of year, but I will definitely get at least one use out of each of them. So let me know what you think of this video, what you think of this project, and how you feel about the palettes that I rolled in. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. And with all of that said, I will see you in my next video. Bye!